Okay. Well, thanks everybody. I really, on behalf of ULI Pittsburgh, appreciate the effort that you put into, first and foremost, these terrific community places and the projects that you have created. And then secondly, the time and effort to be considered for our award and to do today's presentation. I think that one of the things that is the silver lining of having to postpone our event is this opportunity to really learn a lot more about the projects that are being recognized as finalists, and to hear from the teams who put them together about their intent and the challenges they faced along the way. So really just, want to say that we appreciate this, and we're excited that we'll be gathering in person on May 12th at the High Line with the award announcements, and look forward to raising a glass and toasting everyone's success there, and looking ahead to more wonderful placemaking in our community. So Robin, if you want to get into the details for today.
Yep, I'll take it from there. So first, I want to thank our annual sponsors for ULI, and you can see those on the screen. And then we also have the event sponsors. And then here's a little bit about placemaking, which from some people you may recognize.
Intersection of building and engineering, plus commerce, plus creativity. It's the moment when those things come together.
There's lots of different kinds of placemakings, but it's the fundamental part of it is it's a place where people want to be. It attracts people, it creates spontaneity, it creates magic.
Other than physical attributes, things that make a space great have to do with the culture and passion that's coming out of that space.
Placemaking.
Yep. Okay, so that's part of a much longer video, but we just wanted to get the flavor for placemaking. And the transformative place is always kind of an exciting thing. And my name is Zoe Flick. I'm with POH Architects, Pieper, O'Brien, Herr, and I was the jury co-chair this year. And so each different award, we had a number of nominees, and we had quite a bit of discussion. But this one I always like because I like transforming, adaptive reuse, urban infill, and we have some really 3 different projects represented here, and all 3 are very deserving. And as Tamara said, on May 12th, we'll have the announcement of the winner. So we're going to start with the Roundhouse. And so the Roundhouse at Hazelwood Green, which for you railroad buffs, this is where they basically turned around the engines of the train. And there's also one in Altoona, but so we'll hear from Chen and GBBN Architects, Tara Lookabaugh, and if I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry. You can do it yourself later. I'm used to it with a name like Zoe Flick, and then Bill Gray from Grandview Development. So we're going to show a couple pictures and then run a video. So here you see the Roundhouse kind of in a historical perspective. And then below it is kind of the pre or early construction. And then obviously, one of the things that designers always do is they have renderings. And so this is kind of the vision part of the project on the right. And then we jump into construction. And so the picture on the left, which you'll hear about a little later, but the mezzanine being added to the overall structure, and then the restructuring of the turntable there. And then here is kind of the finished product. And I think the thing that I would point out is one, how the project flows from the outside and brings the outside in and the inside out, and then utilization of the architecturally historical components, but in a modern facility. Next. And then obviously, these projects need to be completed, and this is a good representation of the various spaces and the engagement within the facility. So now we'll see a little video from Ann talking about the project before we get into the panel discussion.
This project really demonstrates the value of retaining existing structures. Even though it is over 100 years old, it was vacant for almost 2 decades. It was never really utilized for human occupancy. It can be transformed into being this wonderful, wonderful space. And, as part of the kind of lineage of Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh's industrial past. The space, as a space that was for industry, was a big open space, a high base space. We introduced a second floor that is cast in place concrete, which offers a really interesting juxtaposition between the steel structure and the heavy timber roof and the masonry envelope. There's a partial second floor that overlooks this really grand volume of space at the first floor. There's the open space for open workstations. There are a number of collaboration spaces. There's a large event space that accommodates over 200 people. And then at the exterior, there are spaces for exterior events, for people who are working in the space to spill out and enjoy the weather. People need to function with daylight and views, and so eliminating opaque overhead doors and including a lot of floor to ceiling glass with operable shades that help to eliminate glare, the lovely view of the riverfront and the landscape out here, that all makes for a really wonderful and inviting space.
Okay, so if you'll go back a couple slides there, Ariel, we'll start the panel discussion, or not share your screen, even better. So we have Chen from GBBN Architects, Bill Krahe from Grandview Development, and Tara Lookabaugh from OneValley. And I think I'll start the conversation with how this project came about and got completed. So whoever wants to start, go ahead.
Well, I'll do. You've all heard already too much from me, but I will just start by saying that I want to put a real shout out, especially to Sam Ryman and the R.K. Mellon Foundation. Of course, in addition to his partners at Hines and Benedum, for saving this building, because it was going to deteriorate. It was in the process of deteriorating, and the commitment that they showed in really bringing OneValley in and making this happen was what it took to save the building and make it useful. And so I will turn off my mic, and perhaps Tara can add to that.
Yeah, I mean, echoing what Ann said, I just watching that video back and seeing the space before the renovation started, I feel like I've been in the space so often now that it's been completed that I forget how far we've come. And so seeing it again just truly just gives me goosebumps. But I can talk a little bit about sort of the origin story and why we ended up in the space that we did several years ago, about 3 years ago, when OneValley decided that we wanted to open an innovation center in Pittsburgh. We came out on several trips to sort of explore different neighborhoods and visit different sites and different buildings. And on one of our trips, Sam Ryman took us to see the Hazelwood green space and showed us around Mill 19 and sort of spoke to the vision for Hazelwood Green and what the foundations were accomplishing with the space and with the area. And we just sort of, he asked us to use our imagination. And when we saw the Roundhouse, you know, we were able to do that and sort of see that vision come to life. And we kind of fell in love with the idea of being there early on and getting in on the ground floor of this transformative vision for the Hazelwood Green area. And we really felt that we could add value to that vision. And yeah, so we were really excited to be a part of it.
Great. William, would you like to comment?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to what Tara said and Ann is that, you know, we are blessed with a tremendous philanthropic community, and RKM and Hines and Benedum being able to see the outcome, the ultimate use for this building, and putting their capital at risk early on and fighting through some real challenges with trying to design, engineer, and construct. You know, it again, Pittsburgh is unique with such a quality group of people.
Great. So can you comment a little bit on, you know, obviously Hazelwood Green is a large project and process, and the renaissance of an industrial site. Personally, I love riding my bike through the bike trails there. But how would you say this project fits into the overall Hazelwood Green and in that area of Pittsburgh?
Well, I mean, I can certainly say it is a kind of cornerstone of that sort of what they call the River District. And, you know, the Mill District certainly being where the Mill 19 building is, the River District being around where the Roundhouse is, and then the Flats, which is closer to Hazelwood. But this is all meant to be, you know, relatively seamless with the community of Hazelwood. And certainly, I think OneValley can speak to how it has been a bit of a magnet for events from a diverse, you know, attracting a diverse group of organizations. And of course, the overall site is meant to be a place where people can come and bike and enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah, I can certainly speak a little bit to what Ann touched on in terms of the event side. And I think for OneValley, we talk a lot about innovation and transformation. And I think sometimes it's about taking what's already there and sort of breathing new energy into it. And that's the transformation that happens. And innovation, as you mentioned, is so deeply rooted in Pittsburgh's history and its culture. And we want to provide a space and a community where the future entrepreneurs of Pittsburgh can kind of thrive, and where we can offer a local hub sort of centered around the global resources of OneValley. And we've been able to accomplish that so far in the event programming that we've been able to do, both ourselves and through local partners. We've been working with, we've done events with the Green Building Alliance and Remake Learning, the Grable Foundation, the Founder Institute, Pittsburgh Regional Alliance. And we've really seen, you know, as people see the space and they really see how it's transformed from its original state, it's kind of special to see and special to be in the Roundhouse and sort of see it's a symbol of Pittsburgh's innovative history. And it's a symbol of Hazelwood Green, which is so focused on Pittsburgh's future as an innovation powerhouse. And I think as people are in the space and in these events and sort of seeing that happen in real time, it's felt in the room.
Great. William, anything to add?
No, go ahead. I think they touched on the keys.
All right, so any final comments? We got about 3 minutes or so. Anything else you guys that we haven't covered that you'd like to kind of mention on these projects, or this project, I should say?
This project is just the start. I mean, obviously, it's really meant to be a catalyst for Hazelwood Green, you know, and it's not the only catalyst, but it is part of a series of moves, of course, that the Hazelwood Green partnership is making in order to really build up that you know, former steel mill site and make it into an engine for the economy. And OneValley is an important part of that. And I should say, Bill was the representative, the owner's representative for the Almano partnership on this project. So a lot of really, really hard work in making this thing occupiable.
Right. Yeah, it all comes together with money and ideas and risk, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity to talk a little bit about the project.
All right, Tara or Bill, anything else?
Yeah,
I guess.
Just to conclude, the the Roundhouse is only 25,000 square feet, but boy, the significance of that renovation anchoring what will ultimately be several million square feet is pretty cool that it's come in at this point in the project. A lot of times, an asset like that is the last one that ultimately gets renovated and occupied. Here it's the first piece of a larger puzzle, right? And ultimately there are only so many remnants of the old mill, and having it remain and active and occupied as the new generation of ideas and innovation, ultimately, in my mind, launches this whole district.
Great point. Tara, anything else?
I think Bill and Ann both together kind of stole the words from my mouth, but I guess the only thing that I would add is that OneValley is an organization where we're very humbled to be a part of the Hazelwood Green effort and really excited to see what the future holds. And from a personal perspective, it was wonderful kind of going through the process with Ann and Bill and the foundations and the rest of everyone involved was very, open to all of our ideas and really worked very closely with us to make sure that our needs were incorporated into the building while still, staying true to the roots of the space. And it was a wonderful experience, and we're excited for what's next.
Great. Well, thank you all for participating, and we'll move on to 225 Boulevard of the Allies, which is a bit different project. So 225 Boulevard of the Allies is basically a redevelopment of an existing office building. And what I've learned in my 21 years in Pittsburgh is that everybody refers to as, what was it before? So this is the old Red Cross building, just bringing the Pittsburgh thing in. But we have John Watson and Pat Morosetti from Fourth River and Loren Wright from Pieper, Herr Architects. So we'll give you a little bit of a tour of the building. And as you see is the before, which was the old Red Cross building. It was kind of a black box. And kind of, as I said, it kind of blended into the PPG place, which, there was a lot of goals from Fourth River on how to redevelop this building. So on the right there, you see some of the new construction going on. And this kind of shows you before and after. So we can move on from that. And again, I think, from an architectural standpoint and design standpoint, the use of renderings and kind of given the visuals, and as we as we progress with the technology, you know, it becomes that much more visual. But some of the things, and I think Loren and John will probably talk about this, but having a defined entrance and also something that'll focus onto the building more than just a, you know, a standard building on Boulevard of the Allies. So you can see the canopy that was added and some of the glass features. Next. So here's a kind of a montage of the entrance looking out, one of the elevator lobbies, a night shot of the building, and then coming the lobby from the outside. And here's a little bit more. As you can see at night, you can see into the building. There's amenities, more detail on the canopy and the lobby. And I think next we have a video. There we go.
25 Boulevard of the Allies, located next to PPG Place, directly behind Market Square, and just 2 blocks to the Monongahela River. This convenient location in the CBD portion of the Boulevard of the Allies allows for easy access in and out of the city via on-ramps to I-376 and I-79. With Market Square being in our backyard, tenants of the building can take full advantage of restaurants, experience-oriented retail, and City of Pittsburgh programming in the heart and soul of downtown. Since purchasing the building in 2016, ownership has implemented a multi-million-dollar modernization to the building's facade, base building systems, creating a unique Class A opportunity for all types of tenants. Building upgrades include a new glass vestibule, touchless electronic directory, completely renovated lobby with open seating, 24-hour fully equipped fitness center with a locker room and shower, and a covered on-site garage with plenty of parking and bike storage as well. Each floor has roughly 10,600 square feet available. Aside from the restrooms and direct elevator access, the floor plates are a blank slate, allowing our tenants to really plan for spacious and risk-free layouts for their companies moving forward. We can subdivide a floor to fit your size requirement or provide an entire floor with direct access into the suite from the elevator, your own private restrooms, and floor-to-ceiling windows. For larger users, we can offer exterior high wall signage and branding opportunities with excellent visibility. To come tour the building, please contact Jesse Ainsman at JLL.
All right, if you want to go back a slide, Ariel. Or actually leave it right here. This is good. So I want to welcome John, Pat, and Loren. And we'll start with kind of same comments on how this project was initiated and then completed. So John, you want to start?
Absolutely.
Pat?
No, that's fine. I'll start. I'm John Watson, one of the partners in the building. I'm with Fourth River Development. We were the developer for the project. And our architect, sounds like it was actually Robin, but it was Loren.
That's right.
So hopefully Robin is recusing himself from anything associated with us being voted for. But we also had Birchick Construction, and it was a very good team. This project all started with a vision of sort of our team before we hired the architect of just wanting to see this building repurposed. It had been vacant for quite some time. The building was constructed when PPG was constructed. And there is basically a sister building, a mirror image of the old building on the back side of this. They were both built at the same time, but we only have what was the Red Cross building to work with. And the uniqueness of this building, at least from our perspective as a development company, a real estate company, was that it had so much frontage on an extremely active roadway, which allowed for tremendous visibility and two other things that were very unusual for a building of this size. It's only 40,000 square feet, but it's an important 40,000 square feet. And just like the previous project, the size of it, I don't think really matters. It's what happens with the project and how it transforms that particular building and what it is. So this building was, as Robin said, a very nondescript, just dark mirrored building. It was, interestingly enough, when it first opened, I was in here for some meetings with the Red Cross. Always interesting. It's such a small town. You end up doing business with people and obviously locations and buildings that you may have done many, many years in the past. So that was unique to me, but the building being so small still has 2 elevators. And in comparison, some of the 10-story buildings in town might only have 1. And they've been completely renovated, modernized, as some of that video spoke to. But the other part is the size of the lobby. For a building of this size, it's unusual to see a lobby that is 24 feet wide by nearly 40 feet long. And some of the vision that I saw in that is that if we could recapture that and really dress it up and modernize it, it would allow us to compete with the towers in town. Unfortunately, many companies in town, major corporate names, want to be in a tower. And if they truthfully would give us the chance to see a finished product, they'd understand the value. And as was referenced in that video, this location is very unique in that we can leave the building and be in just about every direction in Pittsburgh with very, very little interruption. And I know that's not what this is about, but it is a part of the reason why we believed in this project. Pieper O'Brien came on board and they heard the vision and they participated in the vision and gave us some great ideas that ends up with the look that we have today. I think it was Loren's comment that he wanted to have a jewel or a gem, and he can speak to it, in the vestibule. So it's an all glass vestibule. One of the visions that we were very interested in bringing to life was whenever anybody would turn onto Boulevard of the Allies from just about anywhere, headed out up Boulevard or down Boulevard, I wanted this to be lit and visible. And so that the entrance is very visible. And we also took the spandrel glass out of the building and did floor to ceiling glass that goes literally from street level all the way to the top of the building. So you see the structure at night and even in the day. I think some people are concerned about the loss of privacy, but I think it's just so unique to be able to look into the building. With that, I would turn to Loren because he could add some of the other touches associated with architecture.
Sure. In starting the design, one of the things that we all noticed and gravitated towards were 2 parts of the existing building. And sorry, I'm not on video. I'm actually out of the office, so I apologize. But the main part of it was, as you walked by this, it didn't matter what time of the day, it was a lost portion of the streetscape because it just disappeared, and not in a good way. There wasn't like a disappear and blending and becoming harmonious. It was actually the exact opposite. So it left a void, if you will. So it repelled a little bit as you were near it because all it was somewhat reflective. And then when you occupied on the inside and you looked out, it was actually a very thin 4 foot wide or 5 foot tall, I guess, continuous ribbon glass with its spandrels on top and bottom, but you could actually see the structure. So immediately grabbed on the idea of taking the line of that glass facade and blurring inside and out. PPG is right next to us. It generally is reflective. We wanted you to actually have a little bit of difference. We wanted to complement, but then also recognize that this has its own presence. So if you look on the elevations, we changed the line of the mullions. We added something to give a different rhythm. So it was no longer repeating PPG's rhythm. It had its own rhythm. Gave a very, very definite sign of entry, which was very hard other than some canopies that were added on the old facade. And again, back to the glass jewel box as you came in to really bring it down to pedestrian scale. but more importantly, you can see in and out all times of day. The pictures that were presented don't show that from a distance, but as you're walking by, it really is more of a translucent, almost transparent back and forth. So much so that we had to be conscious of the radiant heating that was existing of the systems that we retasked in order to not just save money, but because it made sense to use things that were in place, and really even redesigned the covers of just the fin plate so that you had something that could be seen from both sides. So that was kind of the idea going in, and to really maximize the light coming in. So that transformed something that was very narrow and very dark from both sides into something that was very open and transformative and expressed the structure that was there.
Great, good comments. Can you comment on kind of what feedback you've received, and how's the building been accepted by your neighbors?
Everybody loves what happened. I mean, we've brought back to life a part of the block, and some of our neighbors have actually done redevelopment to complement some of the things that we've done. So it's activating this area. The sad part is we came online at the worst possible time. I mean, last year and the year before, we joked we could bowl a bowling ball down the Boulevard of the Allies and nobody was there. It's just so wonderful to see things back, you know, that more pedestrians, the students come this way now instead of just going up Wood Street from Point Park College. So it's helping with the activation of the block.
Yeah, office is definitely challenging right now, but you know, we're all, the trend seems to be reactivation and a new way of doing business. So somewhere we'll get downtown activated fully at some point.
Well, we're all still trying to figure that one out, you know.
Right.
They want smaller space, do they want larger space? And I mean, there's been a lot of, the open floor plan with the percentage of glass that we have, interestingly, exceeds many of the towers. And I know that sounds like belief, but we've competed against UPMC tower, the steel tower. We've competed against PPG, and when you're in their space, we have more glass in any office because it's floor to ceiling and uninterrupted. By example, and Loren, you can speak to it. I don't like to talk about the other buildings, but I think the typical building window might be 3 to 4 feet in width, start at about 4 feet and only go up to 9 feet. Whereas, you know, we're literally floor to ceiling in all situations. So it's very nice. They're large footprints. Again, for a small building, only 40,000 square feet. And then the other unique part is having the parking within the building. It's a small amount of parking, but it is just tremendously convenient for people that use this building. And you know, we come and go. We're here, but we come and go uninterrupted, and that has nothing to do with COVID. That has to do with how easy it is to get on the Parkway, going west, east, north. It's tremendous.
Right.
Yep.
Tremendous location. Loren, you want to comment some more and kind of talk about some of the placemaking components?
Yeah, I mean, I think going back again to being able to see the street start to get more activated. In its previous existence, I think people avoided the area because of the way that impacted the site. Now I think it's the exact opposite. I think as the office product comes back and gains some ground again, this is going to be a unique one. As John was pointing out, you know, we have more glass for surface area, but more importantly, because it's not a very deep building, that natural light filters all the way through the building. And it's very easy to take it all the way to the back side of the building, which I think will long-term just make a better space for people to be in. So that's why we really worked hard to make sure that we didn't even spandrel where the edge of the slabs were. It's just purely exposed. Everything can be seen so that we could maximize that natural light.
Fantastic. One of the things as we wrap up, just if you make some final comments, but I think one of the things that you know, as we talked about the different projects and the judging, and yes, John, I did recluse myself from the vote, is, you know, the risk factor of doing projects like this as a developer. So any final comments, Pat or John?
Well, Robin, you just took that right out of my mouth to speak of the comment about the Roundhouse. And I think we can't overlook, and we don't say this from a self-serving standpoint, but this epitomizes the word risk in doing an office spec project, because not only are you assuming risk in general, but who would have possibly thought that whenever we would take this product, as beautiful as it is, to market, that a pandemic would set in, right? And that's kind of what we've been dealing with. But we're still very positive and bullish on the product, and we're seeing some good hits. And I think it's just a matter of a little more time. But certainly these 2 years have hurt. We can't deny that, but we'll overcome.
Well, as a development team, you do try to minimize the risk, right? And so the items that we've talked about, Loren and myself and Pat briefly touching on them too, you put them all together. We looked at this way back at the beginning and said, this is going to work. It's going to be easy. There's no other building that has this amount of frontage for this amount of square footage, the lobby, the parking, and the location. It's just a tremendous location. So we went into this with the belief that we would overcome minimize as much risk as possible. We never expected what came.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for all your comments. We'll move on to our third project, and we'll hopefully see you on May 12th. So next, we're, like I said, the three projects are very different. So we're going to Pusadee's garden now. And I've had the fortune of being there and enjoying that site. But this is obviously an adaptive reuse and urban infill. And so we have representatives for MossArchitects and also a representative from Lawrenceville. So we'll go through a little brief overview. So this is kind of the before. So, you know, there's an empty lot. There's some buildings that aren't in the best of shape, but have good bones. And I guess we have different seasons here with the snow and the brown grass. So next. And then here's kind of more perspective. One of the interior shots, as you can see. And obviously this is some of this, some people would say is an eyesore. So it's transformed quite a bit. So overall, again, on the left, you see kind of an overall plan of Butler Street and the alleyway and the area, the two existing buildings. And on the right is kind of the another rendering, and you can kind of picture what the actual result was from those renderings. So this is a great picture that kind of gives you the entire scope of the project, and you can see the marrying of the two buildings and the new structure in the back. Some interior shots is the dining room, the bar, and the kitchen. And then obviously the big highlight of this project and what is drawing a lot of people there is the garden. And really the picture on the right is kind of what I would call the staging area. And that's kind of what you see when you come through the main door. The garden's on the right, and so you're kind of, you can go right or left there. All right, let's go back. There we go. So we have Anna Foster and Rebecca Murden, I believe, are going to be talking about the project. And Andrew Moss is MossArchitects. And we also have a representative from the Lawrenceville Corp, and that's Loren Conley. So Rebecca or Ann, who wants to start?
Yeah, I can take us off.
Okay, so pretty much you've heard the questions, kind of initiating the project and kind of completing it from a, what I call an eyesore to really a placemaking place for sure.
Yeah, so as you could see in some of those existing photographs, our client, Watchery Tungdi, and her family owned one of the buildings and one of the side yards, and they operated a restaurant called Pusadee's Garden there for over 15 years, and it was well loved in the community. It had a beautiful little side garden that was very lush and well known, and Watchery and her business partner Michael Johnson had the opportunity to acquire the adjacent vacant lots and the adjacent vacant row house, and they did so and consolidated the lot to become 100 feet by 100 feet, and with the goal of really expanding the restaurant and creating a restaurant experience like none other in Pittsburgh, really centered around this idea of a garden courtyard. And we worked with them to develop the design and complete construction over about 3 years, worked really closely with Watchery and Michael. Similarly to things that have been mentioned already, we were so grateful to get to partner with Watchery and Michael, and their vision, their commitment to creating a really incredible space was a huge part of why this project was so successful, getting to collaborate together with them. And we also got to partner with great team members. We worked with Ground Stories, an amazing landscape architect, Julie Kashnias, and engineers, Gateway Engineering, WNA. We also worked with Clear Story Creative, who are the lighting designers, and our construction team, Marty Mara from Mara Construction, and also Toad Flax also partnered with us and with Watchery and Michael to help stage the garden and all of the lovely flower arrangements that are all throughout the restaurant.
Anna, you want to add some stuff?
Sure. Yeah, just that, this was a unique project to get to work on. And I think we were all throughout the time working on it, we just were excited because it was they were very interested in creating an experiential dining experience, a unique dining experience, and letting the design guide the project, and really letting the courtyard come into the interior spaces and making sure that sort of was the central feature. But so it was a wonderful project to get to work on, and I think we're all very happy with the way it turned out.
Loren, maybe you can comment on kind of the community involvement or acceptance of transforming those two buildings and the lots.
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. So I think for us, just giving a little perspective and some background on some community planning that we had done, it's always great to see a community's vision or plan come to life, but it's even better when it's much more than you could have ever imagined. So this project has been a demonstration of that. For years, our organization has worked to really curate and steward the growth of the business corridor in Lawrenceville. And although we had seen significant outcomes in lower and central Lawrenceville, upper Lawrenceville had been a bit slower to develop. So in response to that, in 2015, we actually completed a plan and vision for this part of the community to steward its growth and evolution. As part of that plan, the existing community identified 3 themes or 3 priorities. They wanted upper Lawrenceville to remain accessible and authentic. So things like having the highest concentration of women-owned businesses, kind of the built urban fabric of the community, that we didn't want to lose that. we also wanted Upper Lawrenceville to be a place where people grew and made things. So whether that was art or food or plants, and a place that had amenities that would attract visitors who might want to stay and invest as residents or business owners who could help to grow and create clusters of businesses and just that vibrant economy. So Pusadee's had long been an anchor in Upper Lawrenceville, and shortly after our plan was actually released, they announced they were closing for a renovation, and we weren't sure what impact that would have on the adjacent businesses and overall business district. But as the project began to take shape, things picked up in Upper Lawrenceville. So before even being open, the excitement and interest that was generated by it had already attracted new hospitality and retail businesses, helped to retain and encourage others through the pandemic. So the wine bar across the street and other retail businesses stayed to see it through, knowing that this was coming. And we got to see, what had been years in the making. The renovation of the project really embraced those themes that the existing community prioritized. So in addition to attracting all of these visitors, it was really celebrating what the existing community had laid out as priorities. So the thoughtful preservation, reuse of the existing buildings, the incredible design, the courtyard, activation of this block. It's really serving as a connector from one part of the business district to the other. And it really has attracted people from all over. And we've talked to countless new residents, new business owners, longtime business owners that were really introduced to the community by their experience in this space, and then wanting to become a part of the community. So yeah, we feel lucky to have this Pusadee's and this project in the neighborhood, of course. So happy to kind of go on and on about it. I'll stop there though.
So maybe some comments on, feedback received, and kind of some examples of, I think Loren mentioned some successes with the surrounding businesses, but as the vision comes to reality, feedback and, any type of things that you've learned about really making a placemaking like this.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a few different aspects of this project that we think really help to help to allow this to be a transformative project. First being the adaptive reuse of the buildings, as Loren has talked about. We had these two masonry buildings originally from 1890, so they were in need of some some work. But we wanted to maintain the character, and we really wanted to maintain the sort of intimate feel of some of the restaurant spaces, while at the same time connecting these two buildings and then allowing for some more expansive, larger bar space where the kitchen was, and the connector piece, the arcade, to bring the project together and then to create this internal courtyard. So that was really the main design feature of the project. And then through that, we've created a layering of spaces. As you come into Pusadee's, you sort of get glimpses of the courtyard through some slot windows along Butler Street. And that we wanted to draw people in, but not sort of let the entire project be shown immediately from the street, to create a little bit of that intrigue and really to allow people to know that there was something unique that was beyond these walls. But you still had a sense of what was happening, because we created new, larger storefront windows into the existing masonry buildings on the two anchor ends of the project. So really the addition of all the glass, the bar, which is 18-foot high ceilings that is visible from most locations within the restaurant. In every room, we added windows to really let the courtyard feel like it was part of those dining experience as well, while still maintaining kind of the intimate feel of the dining rooms. And then again, just the garden, that was the central part of the project, and it's unique along Butler Street. It's unique in Pittsburgh. It's really, people want to sit outside whenever they can, even if it's a little bit cold, and it's drawing people there. I think there's been, as Loren talked about, I think there's been, correct me if I'm wrong, 5 new storefront businesses that have opened along Butler Street on the 5300 block since Pusadee's was opened, or during the pandemic when it was anticipated to be open. And I think Becca might talk a little bit more about the neighborhood as well.
Yeah, Loren did a great job of describing the transformation that that this project has on the neighborhood as a whole, just that 100 feet of frontage on that Upper Lawrenceville corridor. It's a very significant part of that part of the street, and it was really powerful to get to work on a project where we were sensitively renovating the existing buildings and getting to maintain that connection to the Lawrenceville history, and at the same time getting to thoughtfully and sensitively insert new urban infill to connect those two buildings and change your experience as you're walking down the street in a way that's really, really beautiful and artful and also in keeping with the history of the neighborhood. We've definitely gotten great feedback and also have recognized and heard just how the restaurant has been bringing people from all around Pittsburgh, but also from outside of Pittsburgh as well, which helps them get to discover Upper Lawrenceville as a whole.
Great. Andrew, you want to make any final comments since you've been
I have nothing to add. These guys all did a great job describing the project. There were a couple times I was going to say something and then they all shut it off. So I think we're great.
Okay, so really appreciate your participation. I think that before we started, Ariel, who's our administrative person for ULI and is actually from Charlotte, said, it's on her list of visiting when she's here. And I think that, when you define placemaking, this project definitely fits the criteria. So thank you very much for your comments. And so we'll go ahead and wrap up. And basically what I'd like to kind of wrap up with is that, ULI placemaking is an important award in Pittsburgh from the standpoint to recognize these wonderful examples of projects that are transformative and kind of go along with that renaissance of Pittsburgh. So congratulate all the teams, and even though they're very different, the investments and overcoming the hurdles and really the commitment to excellence. So congratulations on that. Our next program, which will be on March 16th, will be a visionary place. And one of the interesting things about the Visionary Award, it's the only award that we present that's of not a completed project. So these are really projects that could be just in a person's imagination. So that'll be March 16th. And obviously the award presentations on May 12th, which hopefully you'll all attend, and we'll have a nice presentation for one of you as the Placemaking Award winner. So with that, thank you very much for your time. And the nice thing is that all of these videos that we've done will be available through ULI. And again, thank you very much for everyone participating. So
yeah, thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Robin.